Welcome to another episode of Angels, Positivity, and Love. I'm super excited to bring our guest today from Arizona. She's wonderful. But first, a public service announcement. This is a show all about positivity, fun, consciousness, unconditional love, walking a smoother path. And we have experts from all over the world, many countries, incredible backgrounds, sometimes a lot of trials and tribulations, but it allowed for them to develop a big foundation. So they end up not only helping themselves, equalizing, but they're helping others in incredible ways. So doctors, psychiatrists, best-selling authors, healers. One Delta Force operator has recently interviewed. I mean, it's incredible, the wide-ranging group of folks. So speaking of which, from Arizona, we have an incredible co-founder of Helping Parents Heal with Mark Ireland. They started it in 2012. They've done a lot of good in the world for people who have had family members pass. They're there to help out, to provide a support organization. This is Elizabeth Boisson joining us from Arizona. Elizabeth, thank you so much for coming on Angels, Positivity, and Love.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm so excited to be here today.
Well, your energy is so incredible. You're super gentle, you're super compassionate, and your kindness radiates. And I have to compliment you on air because I know you've been doing a world of good for others. Can you share with us a little bit about what your organization's about and again, how it's evolved in the last 12 years?
Of course, I would love to. The organization started initially when my son Morgan transitioned at the base camp of Mount Everest in Tibet, and that was in 2009. And I had already had a daughter transition in 1991 while we were living in France. And she was only 2 days old when she transitioned. And that was probably one of the most difficult times of my life. But I had been on an IV in the hospital for 2 months because I had placenta previa. And so I wasn't able to see my son Morgan, who was 2 at the time. And being able to get back to Morgan and to be able to take care of him and be with him because my husband traveled all the time was such a blessing. And so that really healed me to be with Morgan. Um, After that, when Morgan transitioned at the base camp of Mount Everest in Tibet, I did have a shared death experience with him. And the shared death experience was something that I had never experienced before in my life. I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't expecting the incredible things that happened just after. And I wanted to find other parents who are experiencing the same thing. But I'd love for you to let me know if you want me to tell you about what those things were that I was experiencing.
If you could, yes.
Okay, well, good. So Morgan was studying in Nanjing in China. He had gone over on an exchange program with 13 other students, and all of the students were having a fall break, which happened every fall, obviously. He wanted to go to Hong Kong to visit some friends because he had already studied there 2 years prior, and two of his friends were living in Hong Kong, but at the time, the visa system in Hong Kong was a little difficult because if you left the country, you might not be able to get a visa to come back in. But all of the students were going to visit Tibet, which is probably, I think that Morgan understood that it's my spiritual home. I love Tibet so much. And he wanted to go and experience it for himself. He also knew that two professors from the program were going to be going to Tibet at the same time. They had been studying the economy, they'd been studying the socioeconomic aspects of Tibet, everything that the history of Tibet as well. So they were all very excited about going to Tibet. They flew into Lhasa at 11,000 feet. And unfortunately, the professors weren't able to go at the last minute. And the next morning, they took a bus up to the base camp of Mount Everest, which is 19,000 feet. And on the way up, everyone was sick. And my son Morgan was a senior at the time. So he spoke Chinese better than the other kids that were on the program. Excuse me. And he also was kind of like a big brother to everyone. He was 6'6", he still is. And he was holding people's heads when they were feeling sick. Some of the kids were urinating on themselves in the bus, which is a sure sign of altitude sickness. But because of the fact that the tour guide was Chinese, that Chinese tour guide was just trying to get them up the mountain to the base camp to keep them safe before sunset. Um, excuse me, by the time that they arrived at the base camp, Morgan had a splitting headache. It was just terrible. And he never gets headaches. And so they were staying in a yurt, and he took a NyQuil because that was the only medicine that he had brought with him, and went to bed. During the night, he was getting up, wandering around the yurt, calling the kids by the wrong name, which is also a sure sign of altitude sickness. And in the morning at 9 o'clock, when everyone needed to get back down the mountain, they couldn't wake up Morgan, and he was foaming at the mouth. And so one of the kids, whose mother is in Washington State, asked his mom by telephone what he should do. And she said, get him down the mountain as quickly as possible. This is altitude sickness. So in the meantime, as they're trying to load my 6'6", 180-pound son onto the bus, the director of the program called me and said that they had some issues with Morgan, that they were getting him down the mountain. And he gave me his roommate's phone number. And at that time, I immediately called Colin. And what I was going to say is, at that time, by the time that I was able to call Colin, Morgan had completely stopped breathing on the bus. So they took him off the bus and they were attempting CPR. So Colin told me, Miss Boisson, it doesn't look good. He's not breathing. We're trying CPR, but of course, these 13 kids had no idea of how to do CPR. So they were just winging it, I think. And I asked Colin immediately to put the phone up to Morgan's ear. And when he did, I told Morgan that we loved him, that we were proud of him, and not to be afraid. And at that moment, I was here in Cave Creek and he was over there. I felt the biggest bear hug from Morgan. And we call them bear hugs because they were enormous hugs, all encompassing. And that bear hug allowed me to realize that love lives forever, that this journey is all about love, and that Morgan would be with me forever. So I knew right then that every parent was experiencing this, that this is something that's not just Morgan who was doing this, that all of our kids are able to do the same thing. But I think that the reason that I was able to experience this so quickly was because of the fact that my daughter Chelsea was on the other side. And I've been told by mediums that Chelsea was the first person to meet Morgan when he transitioned. She grabbed his hand and she led him to me, to give me that hug. So I was able to get this enormous hug. I wanted to tell the world about it. And I was going to all of these support meetings to talk about these signs and validations that I was getting from Morgan, because they just never stopped in our house, all over, in the yard with all these animals and all of these different things. But the support meetings that I was going to at the time, that existed at the time, were telling me that they don't talk about those kinds of things in the meetings. And so people would come up to me in the parking lot and say, wait a second, what are you getting? Because we're getting the same things. And so it was very exciting because I felt validated at the end of the meeting. I felt really silly during the meeting. I kind of felt chastised and a little bit like I was doing things that I wasn't supposed to, but I knew it was true. So, very soon after, about a week after Morgan transitioned, I started a Facebook group. And the Facebook group, which is Helping Parents Heal, grew and grew. We started having in-person meetings, and the first person to come and speak at our meeting, which was 2 months later, was Mark Ireland about his book Soul Shift, Finding Where the Dead Go. And the coincidence about Mark is that his son Brandon also transitioned on a mountain, but on the McDowell mountain range here in Scottsdale. So I don't know a lot of kids who have transitioned on mountains, but I've heard from so many Buddhists and other religious figures that when you transition on Mount Everest, you immediately transition into nirvana, which is very interesting because I was able to talk to Morgan and be with Morgan immediately. I think everyone transitions into a beautiful place. I think that they are all happy, healthy, and home. And we are still here in school, that this is a huge school. And the lesson that we're supposed to learn is love. Love is the most important thing on this earth. And until we learn it, we're probably going to keep coming back. But I think that a lot of our kids who have transitioned already had learned that beautiful lesson that our journeys here are all about love.
And I've had a quote that's been coming up, and I said it, I think, before when we were chatting before we started taping. In the end, love is what shows us life in different colors. I think that's from a Netflix movie from like 10 years ago, but don't tell anybody. Okay, and I have one more quote for you. There are no ordinary moments. Every task, interaction, and decision is infused with sacred potential waiting to be revealed. And I'll add a third. Everything is made of light. I'll add an extra, and love too, sparkliness. So with all that, can you talk to us about what our opportunity is in each moment, to maybe love more, allow more, share more, but how? We've got all these realities facing us, thinking,
I
tasks,
think it's
stress.
really important for all of us to take a moment when we wake up and express gratitude and realize that we are better off than 99.9% of the people in this world. We're the ones that need to be helping others. We're the ones who, and I also believe that the siblings who experience the passing of one of their siblings are the indigo kids that are actually going to save the world later on because they are the ones who are the most compassionate. They've seen their parents, they've seen their other siblings go through this. A lot of times they develop intuitive abilities. They are wanting to make the world a better place. But I do believe that, again, this whole life that we're living right now is all about love. There's nothing else that's really important. We can't take any of these physical things with us. None of this matters. What does matter is reaching a hand back and helping someone forward so that they can live another day and then eventually be able to help someone else. It's kind of funny because when we started Helping Parents Heal, I used to, in every single meeting, I'd stand up and say, the day that we have succeeded is the day that we will have no one in a meeting of Helping Parents Heal. Because everyone's gotten it and they are okay and they're off doing their thing and they're enjoying life. But that never happens because we have so many parents who want to help other parents, which is wonderful. We have over 200 volunteers in our organization, either caring listeners or affiliate leaders or board members who are there to reach a hand back and pull others forward. And I think that this will probably always be the case, unfortunately, because we also have children who are transitioning at a very scary rate right now. Ever since COVID, ever since the political upheaval that we've had in our country, as well as in every single country of the world, I think that we need this. We need to be able to hold on to the idea that love is the answer to everything that's happening. If we can just love each other more, understand each other better, um, our lives will become simpler and gentler and more soulful. And that's what our children want from us. That's what all of our loved ones in spirit want from us. And the way to do that, and I know that you have a lot of wonderful ways through connecting with angels, but I truly believe that by connecting with angels, by raising our vibration, we're able to connect with these loved ones on the other side. And this is what they're telling us. They're telling us that this journey is all about love, that they're proud of us for doing what we're doing. And we can improve that connection in a lot of different ways. One of them is through meditation. And I've meditated my whole life, starting in India when I was in middle school and high school and college. And also, if you can't sit still and meditate, you can also do moving meditation. When Morgan transitioned, since he transitioned on a mountain, I climbed to every single mountain around my home. There are a lot of mountains. Instead of doing yoga, which is something that I practice all the time, I'm a yoga instructor, but I wasn't able to stay still. And I think that that's important for people who are searching to connect with their loved ones on the other side, connect with the angels as well, is that it doesn't always happen for everyone, especially depending on your mind space on a bed with your legs in the lotus position, for instance. It can happen when you're vacuuming. That's also a moving meditation. You can move into the forest and do forest bathing, take off your shoes and just experience being in nature. But I also think that there are other things that are very important. I've been a vegetarian for my whole life. Not that I expect anybody to become a vegetarian, but I think that cutting out red meat from our diet, and I don't want to offend anyone, but I think that it's just too heavy to be able to raise our vibration to the place that we need to connect with our loved ones. It's like a radio frequency. So when we are able to connect, we can hear them speaking to us directly into our heads, and their voices are different. The words that they use are different than the words that we use. So it's very clear that we're speaking to our son or our daughter or our mother or our father. If it's someone that you're wanting to connect to, it doesn't have to be a child in spirit. But those people who have transitioned are the ones who are teaching us the way that we can move forward in a gentler, kinder world.
I love it. So I've got two Winnie the Pooh quotes for you. One, Piglet asks Winnie the Pooh, "How do you spell love?" And Winnie says, "You don't spell it, you feel it." And I love that quote. The other one is, "Some people talk to animals, not many listen though. That's the problem," Winnie the Pooh. But I'll add, that's the opportunity for us all, is simply to pay attention more, be here, allow more, and perhaps listen. Can you share with us between those two quotes that you feel love and also the concept of just listening more? Can you talk to us a little bit about how it's our opportunity in each and every moment?
I think that listening is the most important thing that we can do. And in fact, in helping parents heal, we have caring listeners. We call them hearts with ears. They don't offer advice, they just listen. They're parents just like us who have gone down this path, and they allow other people to know, first of all, that they're not crazy, that they've experienced the exact same thing. But on this journey, I think that a lot of people will experience many friends and relatives who don't want to talk about our children because of the fact that they're worried it's going to make us sad. It makes them sad as well. And so they avoid that topic. Being able to talk about our kids with a caring listener or just in the group is so wonderful for us because, first of all, we don't think they're gone. We think they're still right here. We think that they're helping us every single step of the way. Second of all, it's very hard for me to hear the quote or the phrase which comes up over and over again. Well, if it helps you, then it's good for you. When maybe parents try to tell family members about the incredible signs that they're getting from their son or their daughter. Um, we believe everything that we hear because we've seen it all ourselves. So it's important to find your tribe, to be with the people who understand, and to tell these incredible things that are happening to those people. And I absolutely love Winnie the Pooh. He's one of my favorites. He was one of Morgan's favorites as well.
Oh,
And I do believe that speaking to animals is important, but listening to them is even more important because they have so much to tell us.
mm,
I don't think that I would have been able to make it through having two children transition without our five dogs and our cockatiel. And my husband had a jaguar growing up. He had a chimpanzee. He lived in Africa. He had a mongoose. He had multiple dogs. And we're just very animal oriented, but they're not animals. They're fur babies. They are a part of our family. Our dogs sleep on our bed. It's just the way that it is. And I feel like they are so much wiser than we are. And I do believe um, that we can learn so much from them, from their behavior, from their constant, they are always forgiving anything that we do. We are their whole world. And our world obviously it's just a tiny part that is is encompassed by our animals, unfortunately, because we go out during the day, we do a lot of different things, but our animals depend on us for everything and they love us unconditionally. And it is such a beautiful thing to have that. And I think that that's an important aspect of healing is to be able to have animals.
mm. Well, animals definitely, dog, we have two dogs here and a kitty. Actually, one dog is named after an angel everybody meets, Joy. And then my cat is named after Presley, who's the interconnectedness of all as an angel. And they sound like fourth graders for folks, and they do have guardian angels. So you can meet your dog's guardian angel if you want. Maybe meet your own first, or your siblings or your parents' guardian angels or whoever's. Okay, I do have two more quotes for you. Definitions of compassion. I think there's a trillion definitions of compassion because it's just ever expanding growth, consciousness, learning, as you said. As you let go and allow more, life has a way of surprising you in pleasant ways. There's simply nonstop elevated vibrations of love and expansion. And so that's why I think there's so many definitions of compassion. But here are two. Mac is an angel. Don't call her Mackenzie. She's everything plants and animals. Speaking of which, she said, compassion is treating every moment with the awareness of a newborn baby. And then Dale, coached an Olympic athlete, another angel, maybe we'll get a chance to meet him later, said, compassion is just being and trusting the outcome to be of the highest intent for all. So with that, can you talk to us about how this is really isn't about doing anything? It's just about trusting more, allowing, pumping the brakes on the doing and slowing down a little. Like that's a concept that we have the rat race up here. I know we think it's corporate America or this group or that group, but it's not external. It's kind of like the whole what's up here, what's down here. How do we go from here to here?
Well, I think that compassion is something that drives us forward, but I think that it doesn't require anything of us. it is amazing how um, when we choose compassion every single day, we're able to do things that are almost superhuman. And I think that it takes all of that fear out of um, out of the everyday interactions that we have. Um, I'm sure that probably before Morgan transitioned, if I saw a homeless person on the road, I would maybe throw some money at that person, and then that would be it. In India, we saw people like that all the time, and we would give money to them until my dad would say, it's not a good idea because then they're going to have more people who are taking that money from them. It's better to give through the UN. But I think that being able to reach out to every single person that you see every single day that you know needs help and be able to help that person is a huge part of compassion, and not having that cultural barrier or that fear that you are doing something that is wrong to do so. And I I believe that in this day and age, unfortunately, lives, especially for younger people, have become more and more complicated. Obviously, with COVID, with everything that's going on in the world, I think that there's going to be a huge shift happening at some point. But for right now, it's a difficult time for so many people. And to be able to reach out and help as many people as you can during this time is very important. And I think that all of us are going to have a life review later on. And won't we be happy to be able to look at that life review and say, ah, I did it right. Not that I did do it right, because I'm sure that there are going to be a lot of things that I'm not happy about. But each day I do try to remember that I want to make sure that when I get to that point, I am very proud of myself and proud of the actions that I took when I did.
Hmm. Lovely. And Plato said, "Be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a harder battle than you."
Yes. And he's exactly right. There's
And the only way you'll ever agree to that, because, if you're in a pickle, in a pinch, my problem is, my situation is, my drama is, you don't understand my story, you're not going to have room for that. So the only way you'd agree that others could be, everybody else that you meet is fighting a harder battle, is if you're in compassion itself as a
they
vibrant.
are they are definitely. It's so important. I mean, I obviously have had two children transition. We have people in our group who have three children transition. Just the other day, there was a mom who joined who had four children transition. And some people have all of their children transition, even if it's just one child. So I truly believe, and I think that through Helping Parents Heal, we realize that there always is someone who's fighting a harder battle. And um, I think that it's important to recognize that and to not be sad about that, because all of those kids, all of their kids are having a blast on the other side. It's only hard for us. We're the ones who are suffering here. I'm not suffering, but the people who are early on in grief or on the healing journey are the ones who are suffering. But it doesn't have to be that way because our kids are with us every single step of the way.
Beautiful. Now, at this point, I'm going to do another public service message, which is for folks. Please comment on what, something Elizabeth said that resonated. Share your own moment or personal bit of sharing down below. You can like, comment. What else am I missing? Subscribe. This helps others see her story, see Helping Parents Heal. Also, just to accommodate more, allow life to be life, and to maybe shift the perspective a little. Usually it's that Einstein quote, the consciousness that says, and I'm going to slaughter it a little bit, the consciousness that says my problem is is not the same consciousness that allows you to get past the perceived situation, the difficulty. It's why when we look back 20 years, 10 years, 5 years, we're like, oh yeah, well, I mean, it was bad. And at the time, I'd never want to go through it again. But now it kind of makes a little bit more sense in the rear view mirror. You can have that rear view mirror right here and now. And to shift the tone a little, I'll tell a dad joke or two. I'll offer the chance for people to smell sage. It's a staple on this show. So it doesn't matter if it's 2028 or you're watching in 2029. So now I made like 2028 look old, but we're in 2024. I'm going to light some sage. You can smell it all over the globe. Every guest has done this so far. I forgot to do it for one guest who's in a whole different industry, but was wildly intuitive, doesn't even use that language. Before the show, he or she was so fantastic at doing everything. And I was so amazed and they're so happy. And we talked this different topic on the show that I forgot to do anything on the show, which is crazy. So here I am about to light some sage. It's Juniper Ridge, the California company. It's regular sage, but since life is so spectacular, miraculous, sparkly, and fun, why not ask angels, the universe, whatever lingo is good for you, unconditional love figures, if you don't mind. Ask unconditional love figures, angels, to bring you the sage, but also flowers or an ocean smell. Some people like to smell with their eyes shut, so do it that way. But if you need help, look at the smoke. I'll waft it with a red-tailed hawk feather. I got that right. And just allow. Your big heart is like a home run hitter, like Hank Aaron in Major League Baseball. You just don't know you're an Olympian. If you would just let go and give yourself a break, you're Mark Spitz in the pool. Most of us don't want to touch the pool. It looks cold, but the heart is really big. So here's some sage. Are you catching it already in Arizona, Elizabeth?
Yes, definitely.
And if you want to catch some Tibetan sounds on the air, or if your eyes are shut, Tibetan wheel, let angels bring you something extra that only could be for you. Those Tibetan chimes. And if you want, I'll put up an angel photo of joy just to get a topic that you already know, like the back of your hand, but you'll get a little reassurance about another direction you can take us. And I'll stub this out in just 1 second. People can play this over, back it up, play it over. And so don't smoke out the room. 1 second. And I meant to tell a dad joke, so I'm going to give one dad joke. This could sound serious, so sorry about this, but where in a hospital is the worst place to play hide and seek? Where? In the ICU. And I promise you, even with COVID and all the disasters that have taken place, doctors and nurses still have not heard that. They need laughter and love too. Feel free to share that inappropriately, appropriately. Here's Joy and Angel. If anybody wants to put their hand out and feel the vibe, but Elizabeth, does she have a topic that you're like, oh yeah, let's talk about this? And anybody can get a flower smell, get a hug, ask a private question. She's got a high peppy voice. What will you allow for? Forget angels for a second. Are you just allowing for more fun, sparkle, zip in your ordinary routines? And why let any moment be just ordinary when you can go absolutely wild? You have to do all the figuring out because only you can do the figuring. All right, what does Joy have for us that's the patented Elizabeth Boisson stuff?
Well, I would love to be able to talk about how Morgan is a jokester and he has been doing things to show us that he's here ever since he transitioned. The first thing that happened, we had a medium come to my house because she had given a reading to a woman at my yoga studio. And I wasn't even there. And it took her 2 months to be able to schedule me in. In the meantime, she met Mark Ireland, and it was at a afterlife fair. And Mark signed his book because he knew that Morgan had transitioned on a mountain. And Suzanne Wilson brought that book to me. And when she was here with me, she told me a lot of different things. One of the things that she told me was that Chelsea looked a lot like Liv Tyler in Lord of the Rings, which made sense because my husband has black hair and blue eyes, and that she's with Morgan. And she also told me that Morgan passed on a mountain, that he was going to be getting back a rock, or that we would, that was split in the middle. And we didn't know anything about this from the exact place that he transitioned. And a month later, his roommate came and brought that rock, as well as she saw him shouting from a mountaintop through a megaphone that he was okay. And Morgan was a U of A cheerleader. And so that megaphone was part of his service. But going back to the megaphone, the person who was in charge of the megaphone, or one of the megaphones, is the mascot. So the mascot of of the U of A team was a wildcat,
Mm.
and his name is Dan McGee. He was one of Morgan's best friends, and after he graduated from college, he decided to become a firefighter, and he went to his first job. He was in the garage. The other firefighter was in the car. They were going to be moving the car out in neutral, and Dan was going to be pushing on the car in front of it. And all of a sudden, he felt these two arms come around his waist and lift him off the floor and pull him backward. The guy in the car saw it, and all of a sudden, this this air conditioning unit fell right in the spot that Dan had been in, meaning that he would have died if he had been there. The guy in the car said, "Dude, what was that?" And Dan knew it was Morgan, and in fact, he named his first child after Morgan. That was an amazing story. He's so strong. He's such a strong force. And part of the reason that I wanted to talk about Suzanne, and I'm sorry about this, the
Oh, no,
day that
please.
she came going backward, she said, Morgan says to look up after lots and lots of validations. The next 2 days coming into the garage, I smelled insulation in the garage, and I thought, this is weird. Where's the insulation smell coming from? And I looked up, and the trap door was slid back above our electric golf cart that we had in the garage. The only way to get that golf cart out of the garage is using the key that was in the house and then putting a ladder up, because it was a very high garage, to get up to the trap door. So my husband had to move the golf cart out. He had to put the ladder there. He went up to check to see if anybody was up in the trap area. Nobody was in there. And I was thinking, that's probably Morgan. The next day, because we didn't say that it was Morgan, I got home from getting groceries. I smelled insulation again, and the trap door was open. And again, the only way to get up to that is to get the key inside the house, to move the golf cart out, to put this huge ladder in there. And my husband did it. And I said, okay, Cyril, that's Morgan. Suzanne told us to look up. I'm sure he's just showing his strength. So with that in mind, one of the second things that happened is that my daughter was studying in Paris at Sciences Po. And she went to a New Year's Eve party. She had a little tiny cocktail dress on. It was black. She had a big coat on because it was really cold. And she had her purse with her. She went with her cousin. Her cousin had her boyfriend there. Before going, she had a terrible migraine, so she took some Imitrex, which is migraine medicine. And she started getting very woozy. So she told Anne-Sophie, I think I'm going to go home. And Anne-Sophie, instead of saying, I'll get you home, because she could tell she was very woozy, she said, sure, go ahead. And Alix skipped the coat check, didn't get her coat, didn't get her purse, ran out into the street, saw a taxi that was that had a door open. She jumped into the taxi. She went for 1 block and realized that she didn't know the person who was sitting on the seat next to her. So she jumped out of the taxi. She looked at the street sign, didn't recognize the street sign, and snow started falling. And she's in a black cocktail dress, and she had no idea of where she was. She was on the other side of Paris. So the next thing that she remembers was the next morning at 9 o'clock in the morning, all of her roommates in her apartment in Saint-Germain-des-Prés, which is 7 stories up, are shaking her to wake up and saying, "We got to go to Portugal. We got to get the train." And she didn't remember anything except that she remembers the door being kicked in. Her roommates heard the door being kicked in, and Alix knew that it was Morgan who carried her home that night, all the way up those 7 flights of stairs, all the way across from the other side of Paris. But what's so interesting is that she didn't tell me this for 3 years until she was studying in London. And she said, "Mom, I have something that I have to tell you," because she thought it was so crazy. And she thought that I would think she was crazy, which is, of course, I never think anybody's crazy.
Oh,
So those are two of the many stories that Morgan um, has done for us to save people's lives. And they're right after he transitioned, there were two cheerleaders that were in a car, and it was a girlfriend, boyfriend. They were driving around, they were driving along at a normal speed. I think it was 45. This woman ran into them going 75 miles an hour. The car looks like an accordion. And they said that they felt Morgan with them. They were both able to get out of the car without a scratch,
ooh.
which is just incredible. So he's done this over and over again.
Oh, beautiful. Okay, for this, may I put up a photo of Archangel Michael? And again, just feel what you can feel. You can ask for a hug, but also get a reminder, maybe a reminder for us all, either from Archangel Michael if you want to do the direct listening and you can be the psychic medium today, um, or it'll be another something to recount that he'll remind you of. And if people want a flower smell, a pipe smell, a chimney smell, great cooking, get what you'll allow for, whatever toots your horn or floats your boat. And also, if people have their eyes shut, you can see light on the back of your eyelids like it's a 1950s drive-in. Let them do something fun. Okay, what did you get?
I got that Morgan wanted me to tell that right before he left, I think it's important for everyone to understand that I believe in soul plans. I believe that what happened to Morgan was supposed to happen. I right before he was supposed to go to China, we were in his bedroom, we were packing his enormous suitcases, and he turned to me and he said, "Mom, I don't think I'm coming home this time from China." And I said, "Morgan, you've got all the credits you need. You can stay here and be a cheerleader. There's no reason for you to go to China." He said, "Mom, I'll be fine." So I know that he knew. And in fact, the day that he left for China, it turned out that exactly on the 30th of August, our little tiny teacup Yorkie was born. We didn't know him yet. And then when he decided that he was going to go to Tibet, for some reason that day I decided that I had to adopt a Yorkie. I already had 4 dogs, much bigger dogs. And we chased this woman around town trying to find this little puppy. And we didn't have a name for the puppy, but I told Morgan on the way to Tibet that we were adopting this dog. Well, it turns out that Morgan transitioned 2 days later, and this dog, we ended up naming him Captain because that was Morgan's nickname in high school, and he has been our shining guiding light ever since. He's 15, and we've had puppies with him, and we've kept all the puppies as well, and my daughters have kept the puppies as well. But the important thing is that he also told a medium that if he hadn't transitioned at the base camp of Mount Everest, he would have transitioned on the I-10 going from the U of A to Cave Creek. And I think that it's important for parents to understand that especially if they're having a hard time with the transition of their children, that I believe that soul plans exist. No one else has to believe that, but it's something that's so reassuring to me because I know that there are several exit points that we can choose, but that they are exit points, and our kids are old souls, and they are able to do the things and live the things that we all need to do in a short amount of time and then graduate home. And so they're over there, and they're a lot like the dads who come into a maternity unit, and there's glass and they see all the babies in the little bassinets and they say, "That's my son. That's my daughter." The kids are also saying from up above, "That's my mom. That's my dad," especially when we do things that they're proud of. And so that's one of my guiding factors, is to make both Morgan and Chelsea proud of me.
And I'll go ahead and just share a brief bit. I lost my dad when I was 2 in 1970. It was his time to go. He had even told my mom that he was going to probably pass young. I mean, he had literally just turned 26, I think, in the Navy, off of Italy, off of Naples. And my mom passed when I was turning 23 in 1992. And those two show up. Hundreds of people have seen them, chatted with them. That's full on seeing with their eyes open, and so on. So no limits is no limits. You knew it as a kid. You sort of know it once in a while as an adult. But if you only go with like logos, rationale, reason, thinking, judging, good luck with that. You're not going to allow for any of this. So somehow this is about a little less thinking, 5%, 7% a day, to quote an angel, just a little more allowing, and watch what the universe brings you, even if we're not talking about past over loved ones, but just opportunities for anything, like meeting nicer people, career, having more fun. You feel like you're in a pinch, but you need some room to breathe. I'm going to read something from Angels that is just very gentle. And then just to get your reaction on this, and maybe again, take us in a certain direction. It's just talking about the concept of being, which I think was what we just touched on. Being is believing in all. You do not need to be like anyone else. Be you. Smile more, think less. Do not permit others to dictate your well being. Own your own being and life. Love more and allow more. You can be happy now in this very moment without a single reason. So, with that, can you weigh in on that?
Yes, definitely. I think that it's important, especially after having a child transition, to understand that you do have to be happy. And not everyone around you is going to feel comfortable with you being happy because of the fact that they expect you to be much sadder. They tell you all the time, "Oh my gosh, if that happened to me, I'd be curled up on a bed with a bottle of vodka. I would never be able to survive. How have you survived?" But the important thing is to keep the friends that you have that support you in your journey and who understand, and then expand your tribe. And I have met some of the most incredible people along the way who are enlightened, who are compassionate, who are grateful. And I realize that it's so much more important to spend an evening talking about compassion, talking about gratitude, talking about all of these wonderful things, than talking about the latest vacation someone's taken or the latest car that they have acquired. And I certainly don't think that it's a bad thing to be able to acquire these cars and other things like that, but or about politics or anything else of that nature. I like being able to talk about our kids and all of the signs um, and messages that they're bringing us, because I do believe that they are getting us ready to help more in terms of humanity. And I always, at the very beginning, it's so interesting. I used to, for some reason, this phrase would come into my mind constantly, that the children on the other side would ultimately save the world. And I think that that's true. I think that the messages that they're giving us, the help that they're giving us and allowing us to move forward and to become better people, ultimately will help in the bigger picture, the grand scheme of things. We are going to see a lot more interaction with our loved ones in spirit.
Hmm. And I'll do another two quick quotes. This is angels just talking about why. Why are angels so available this day and age, or just we'll call it more love, more compassion, more being in the now. Awareness for mankind is on the horizon. Call it a spiritual awakening if you wish. It's a chance for all to grow. Mankind is ready for more unconditional love and compassion for all. And more compassion by all for all is needed. Mankind is ready for change from rat race mode. Happiness is obtained in the absence of ego. Ego's afraid to be vulnerable, to let go, and to be in the unknown. Again, there's nothing to lose and nothing to gain. Move past seeing the negative. And I'll add one more quick paragraph. Compassion can be taught through one's actions. How? Slowing down would do a world of wonder for most people. Doing it consistently is where the problems and opportunities lie, so stay present. But one more quick quote. This is from Jesus in 2014. Take it with a grain of salt. But again, if you want to listen, you can listen. It'll sound like your own voice first second you let go, but the second you calm down about it and get over it, full personality will come in. So he said, compassion is here for all. A person need only be open to receive. A new consciousness emerges. Details are not so important. Love is love. That's it. So I think that's very much in line with what you're saying, but what's your reaction to it?
Yes, I agree completely. And I think that people are becoming more compassionate at the same time that people are unfortunately becoming more divided. There are so many people who are becoming more compassionate and who are seeing these angels and guides and loved ones who are guiding us. And I do believe that if we give our lives to them, if we allow them and say, just let me know what I'm supposed to be doing next. I often feel like a marionette. I feel like I wake up in the morning, I'm dragged out of bed because I have to post the tributes to the kids. I basically go through the day with things popping in my head. Okay, yes, I have to take care of this child and this child's parents, or and I think that when we're more open to that, we're able to help more people, and it's something that ultimately at the end of the day makes us feel so good when we go to sleep at night.
Oh, well, I'll put Mother Teresa's photo up, and she's got a great sense of humor. I know you guys are, there's a connection there. And what are you getting from Mother Teresa, or what's a reminder of another, again, offshoot of all this or avenue to talk about?
I think that she's also expressing the fact that this whole life, everything about it is all about love. The material things don't matter. Being able to put a hand back and help those that need a hand forward. I I believe that she did so much good, obviously, in India, throughout India, and in her many orphanages. And I just feel that um, it's funny because I'm seeing her with Elizabeth Kubler-Ross right now. I feel like they're the same person. They care so much about these children, the people who are actually who are dying, who or passing, who need to be able to be supported, need to be able to be told, need to have their family around them and helping them with this. And in fact, Mother Teresa had a home for the deaf and dying as well. Deaf. Oh, I can't remember the exact name of it when I was in India, but um, they seem like very similar personalities and they have the same beautiful smile as well.
And reminder for folks, I think she said when she was alive, if you judge people, you have no time to love them. And I
Exactly.
love that as a reminder because no matter what the discourse is, you're on social media, you're watching the news, you're watching this, you're watching that, or it's a conversation wherever. You're not going to hear the expressions unconditional love, kindness, gentleness, compassion, consciousness. I'm probably skipping a few. Attention, appreciation, allowing, awareness. You're just not going to hear it. So if you needed to inject at least a minute in of your own love while you're doing a little bit of unlove, how about that? I mean, unlove, thinking it's going to happen. You're going to resist stuff. You're going to have to judge that neighbor, that political party, the political person, this country, that country. Welcome to being human. But if you can keep it light somehow with a capital L, that'll pay off in spades. I have just a couple more figures for you. Maybe we'll do Archangel Gabriel in a second, but Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche wanted his younger photo from Tibet, Tibetan Buddhist Lama monk. Hear what you need to hear, catch something Tibetan in the air or a smell. And he's super gentle. I said when I first met him, hey, that's a mouthful for Americans. Is there another name we can call you by? Now, I'm an idiot about that stuff, but he was really cool. He said, call me Gentle Frank. And that's what I've called him since. And he's cool with it.
He's beautiful. Oh my goodness. And all of these Buddhist monks, I've interacted with quite a few, and I actually text on Facebook because they don't really have a lot of internet when they go back to India, but they are so gentle and so caring. And in fact, I have a friend who had them staying at her house, and she has two little kids, and she said they're like the seven dwarfs. They just love being active. They love kids. They love doing things around the house. They're just so kind and so compassionate. And I feel very, very grateful that I've been able to meet quite a few. I love spending time with them. I also am struck by the patience that they show when they make mandalas out of sand. And I've had the opportunity to do that a couple times as well when I was in France, and and then blow them away.
Oh, yeah, no, that's a big one too. Watching what you just worked on for 10 hours, 5 hours, 2 days.
Oh, for days. I mean, sometimes this weeks even, yeah. And they're and then they blow it away. But yes, I have so much respect for the Buddhist religion, and he does seem like he's extremely calm and compassionate.
Can I do a final figure? It'll be Buddha, and I'll just put up this will be a artist like rendition, but people can feel golden light, they can see golden light, they can see it in the air around them, they can hear Buddha's voice. It's whatever your comfort zone is, where what are you going to allow for and how much you're going to be here versus up here. No try Yoda, but to quote Archangel Gabriel, always try. So it's not about the words. You don't have to do anything, you don't have to try. You already got it, but you're good where you are. Here is Buddha, our last figure. Feel what you can feel, catch what you can catch, olfactory wise and auditory wise, music wise, something. And maybe we can get a phrase that resonates as a final reminder for folks.
I believe that it is in the stillness where we find the truth. And I think that that is something that I've heard so many times from many of these Buddhist masters. That picture reminds me of a Buddha that is actually in Hong Kong on an island that you can take a funicular to get to. And it's so impressive, so beautiful. But again, in the stillness, we can find the truth.
Okay, very last wild act. You'll have an opportunity to say no, say yes. It is what it is. Some guests do this. And the point of this is no limits. The two screens, we already smelled sage or flowers or whatever, no big deal. But I'll put my hand up at only my highest intent. None of my bill paying, my drama, my thinking, just unconditional love, love or above. But it's really angels. And if you want to put your hand up at the same thing, none of your thinking, just your happy side, which it seems like it's on full on right now, but you can feel my energy through two screens. So you're in Arizona, I'm in Texas, and I'm gonna whoosh you rainbow light, which is more the universe and Buddha and Chogyam Trungpa. Let's blame them or Canada. But I'll whoosh you three times. The first time, keep the volume low. Feel what you can feel up and down your back. The second time, the volume up, and the third, go crazy, go big, go home. You're already home, so let's go big. First time though, let me stop talking and do some flow. And folks, you can feel it at home. If you want to close your eyes, I'll at some point blow through the microphone that's down here. So I'll look like this. You'll catch an ocean breeze on your face. But here comes the first one. Just a little bit of rainbow light whooshing your way. And Elizabeth, you got that okay? Okay. Now the second one, let's go a little bigger. And if anybody's been carrying some drama around, send it out the window, not towards me or Arizona, out over an ocean somewhere. Okay, here it comes. Catch a little wind on the nose. And last but not least, let's go big, let's go home again. Everybody go big. Feel what you can feel, breathe a little extra, and here it comes. And up and down the back, those chakras, Kundalini Express. And I'm gonna drop my hand right now. But Elizabeth, did you get some action, some love, some sparkles?
That was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Good.
And this has
Well, thank
been,
you for being on the show, Angels, Positivity, and Love. Elizabeth, you were a treat.
oh, you are too. It was wonderful. Thank you so much. And I also just want to quickly say that if anyone is interested in reaching out to Helping Parents Heal, it's just helpingparentsheal.org. And thank you again for all of your kindness and compassion, and you're changing the world one person at a time.
Well, I have to thank you. Your vibration, your presence, your sparkliness, your lightness is super refreshing. And I think people are going to find that out when they do get in touch. And they can certainly reach out to you by email for pretty much anything, even to ask what we would consider to be, we're not so sure about the question. They should feel free to reach out to you regardless.
Yes, they will definitely, I'm sure. And I have all of my information on the website. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Elizabeth Boisson in Arizona, Helping Parents Heal. You've been wonderful on the show. Thank you again.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Namaste.